trembling trees, embrace the breeze tenderly. Then you and I came wandering by, lost in a sigh. I can't forget how two hearts met breathlessly.
Welcome to Jazz for Curious Listeners. We're going to be listening to the music of Sarah Vaughan live in Japan, and this is just part of the National Jazz Museum in Harlem's online programming. My name is Lauren Schoenberg. I'm senior scholar at the museum. And, we have several series. This show actually fits into two of them. One is called The Great Concerts, in which we hear jazz musicians from the earlier days of the music in concert because it was a really different venue for them. They were used to playing in ballrooms and nightclubs and places and theaters, but to do a concert was really something special. And some of these concerts were recorded, and they captured just a different slice of their artistry. We also have a series about some of the best albums to introduce someone to jazz with, and this falls into that category as well. Sarah Vaughan long thought, since she was in her 20s, to be the peer of Billie Holiday and Ella Fitzgerald, and the very few others at the top of the list of the great jazz vocalists. Really had a totally different take than those two peers, and in fact any other jazz singer of her generation. She had an operatic side to her, a diva-ish side, and by diva not only in terms of the way that her personality was necessarily, but just in terms of the way that she presented her voice, her arabesques, her variations as the years went by. It really put her in a totally separate category. This recording, done live in Japan in 1973, catches her at a fascinating moment, kind of almost halfway into her career. And she is, I don't know how to put it, maybe more restrained than usual. Not restrained in terms of the excellence of what she does or her passion. But something about the way she sings is as though she was soft pedaling it, and the emotion comes out all the stronger because of the soft pedaling. Now, that's a lot of words and a lot of interpretation. Why don't we jump right into the music, and then we'll get into our presentation, which will give you some earlier and later recordings to compare this great recording with. So, we'll start with Watch What Happens, and the key to everything from this album is Vaughan's artistry and the wonderful trio that's backing her, Carl Schrader on the piano, Jimmy Cobb on the drums. They were both with her for many years. And John Gianelli, who seemed to be filling in on the bass, Walter Booker, took his place slightly afterwards, and he later went on to work with Carmen McRae. But whatever it was, this evening, September 1973, in Japan, is a night of nights. We'll begin with Watch What Happens.
Start believing in you. Let him hold out his hand. Let him touch you and watch what happens when someone who can look in your eyes and see deep in your heart. Let him find you and watch what happens. Cold. No, I can't believe your heart is cold. Maybe just afraid to be broken again. You'll get away someone
one of the things that made Sarah Vaughan such a highly respected figure was not just her singing, but the fact that she could also play the piano, knew the harmonies, and could deal with musicians in a specifically musical way that most other singers didn't. And here we see two photos of her at the piano. And on the left, probably in the 1970s. On the right, back in the early 50s. And yes, that's Duke Ellington standing up, looking down. And on the right, her close friend, Billy Eckstine, who played a large role in her career. Eckstine was singing with Earl Hines' band in 1942. When he heard Sarah Vaughan at the Apollo Theater at an amateur night, he recommended her to Earl Hines. They sang together in that band. And then when he formed his own big band, she sang with that one. And then later on in the 40s, 50s, 60s, they made some of the most wonderful vocal duets ever recorded. If you haven't heard those, make sure you hear them real soon. Anyway, Sarah Vaughan was very conversant with jazz harmony. Among her early great accompanists were the pianist Jimmy Jones, and she learned a lot about chords. Anyway, so you can kind of get a picture in your mind of what Sarah Vaughan looked like at the time of this concert in Japan that we're focusing on. There is no film of that gig, but a year later, we do have her going to the piano and accompanying herself on Body and Soul. So you'll get a double whammy of Sarah Vaughan on the piano and singing.
Thank you very, very much. Bye. Toodaloo. See you in Bermuda. That's where we're going from here. I'm going to lay on the beach and get tan. I'm going to play piano. Didn't know that, did you? Don't applaud until I'm finished, because you never know. Might be lousy. Let me see. All these lounges. Body's home. My days have grown so lonely. For you I pine, for you, dear only. I tell you I mean it, I'm all for you. Body and soul, I spend my days in longing. I'm wondering why it's me you're wronging. I tell you, I mean it. I mean it. I'm all for you, body and soul. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. Shut up. It's hard to conceive it that you turn away, oh man. Are you pretending It looks like the ending unless I can have one more chance to prove, dear, my life a wreck, my life a wreck, my life a wreck, my life a wreck. You're making, you know I'm yours for just the taking. I'll gladly surrender myself to you, 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 body and soul. Myself to you, myself to you, body and soul. Thank you, Carl. Thank you. Carl Schroeder. Thank you so very, very much, ladies and gentlemen. And I see you next time. Bye-bye.
Sarah Vaughan had her own way with swinging standards, and throughout her career she recorded, especially early on, with orchestras, with big bands, definitely putting her in a more commercial setting, quote unquote, than just a small jazz rhythm section, although that's how she appeared in person the great majority of the time. She even had some hit records, Broken Hearted Melody, and things like that in the late 50s, early 60s, but she clearly did not want to pursue those potentials as much as she wanted to remain true to her muse. Let's go back to the Live in Japan album for a brief, brilliant version of a jazz classic. Well, it's a tune written way back. It's called There Will Never Be Another You. Lester Young famously made a record of it, as did Sarah, and here she is live in 73 in Japan.
There may be many other nights like this. I'll be standing here with someone new. There may be other songs to sing, another fall, another spring. There will never be another you. There may be other lips that I may kiss, but they won't thrill me like yours used to do. Yeah, I may dream a million dreams, but how can they come true? Never, ever, ever be another you. There may be many other nights like this. I'll be standing here with someone new. There may be other songs to sing, another fall, another spring. There will never be another you. Maybe other lips that I may kiss, but they won't thrill me like yours used to do. Yeah, I may dream a million dreams, but how can they come true? Never, ever, ever be another.
We've seen Sarah Vaughan on video here, on film, in the mid-'70s when she did Body and Soul. First impressions are so important. Just think of or I should say, when we think of our own lives, first time we tried this, or first time we ate that, or first time we heard this, or read that, whatever, they're inescapable and essential in terms of how we think of things. And so let's go back to 1947, circa 1947, and see the young Sarah Vaughan as she was 23, 24 years old. As she first appeared, this is the Sarah Vaughan that the world first knew, and undoubtedly this image lingered as she aged and as she matured, but I think it'll help us understand even more deeply why this Live in Japan 1973 record is so stupendous, and we can judge it now in comparison with how she first appeared on the scene. We mentioned it before. She's born and raised in Newark. She's raised musically in the church. Her mother goes way out of her way to make sure that she has all those experiences. Her father's not crazy at all about her going out to sing at night. But she eventually wins a talent contest in Harlem, winds up with the Earl Hines Band, with Billy Eckstine's band, making records with Charlie Parker and Dizzy Gillespie early, in May and June 1945. She's there at the get-go of all that new music, and she strikes a chord with the public. She really does, and she goes out on her own. She's married, her first marriage, to arranger, trumpeter, bandleader George Treadwell, and she appears in this video, in this film, this short film. And again, I think it's going to add so much to our understanding of her evolution to see her at this point in her career.
Why do I just wither and forget our resistance when you and your magic pass by? My heart's in a dither, dear, when you're at a distance, but when you are near, oh my, it's not the pale moon that excites me, that thrills and delights me. Oh no, it's just the nearness of you. It isn't your sweet conversation that brings this sensation. Oh no, it's just the nearness of you. When you're in my and I feel you so close to me, all my wildest dreams come true. I need no soft lights to enchant me if you only grant me the right to hold you ever so tight and to
amazing to see the young Sarah Vaughan in her early 20s and already, so clearly herself, just everything. It's all there. Well, we're going to go back to the Live in Japan concert now and hear one of the first masterpieces. Now, this album in and of itself is a masterpiece, but even within that level, there are a handful of performances that just, I don't know what to say about them, but you put them on and within a matter of seconds, you're just transported to the Sarah Vaughan universe. This is one of them. This is Poor Butterfly, a tune that she loved to sing and that she recorded in different settings. But here, just accompanied by this miraculous trio, and again, I want to give credit to Carl Schroeder, her pianist and musical director at the time. The chords, the bass notes, the arrangements, they're just superlative. She always had great pianists, going back to Jimmy Jones and Don Abney and so many other wonderful people, but Bob James, who worked with her for many years. But anyway, getting back to this particular trio, John Gianelli on the bass, we mentioned at the top of the show, was only there for a moment, but boy, is he wonderful. And Jimmy Cobb, the legendary Jimmy Cobb, who had already come to fame with Dinah Washington and most famously with Miles Davis, and then with so many other great musicians. Having him on the bandstand, Sarah also had Roy Haynes for many years in the 1950s. She always had she had great rhythm sections. And I just want to throw focus here also, not just on her, but on the incredible backing. This is Poor Butterfly, and it's a record that many people love. If you haven't heard it before, I envy you.
There's a story told of a little Japanese sitting demurely neath a cherry blossom trees. Miss Butterflies, her name. Child was she when a fine young American from the sea to her garden came. They met neath the cherry blossoms every day, and he taught her how to love the American way, to love with her soul. 'Twas easy to learn. Then he sailed away with a promise to return. Poor butterfly, neath the blossoms waiting, poor butterfly, for she loved him so. The moments pass into hours, the hours pass she murmurs low, the moon and I know that he'll be faithful. I'm sure he'll come to her by and by. But if he don't come back, then I'll never sigh or cry. I just must die. Poor
Thank you. Very much, thank you. Thank you. Thank you very, very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Sarah Vaughan's peers, commercially speaking, during the first part of her career, would have been two older women. They would have been Billie Holiday and Ella Fitzgerald. And then, of course, Dinah Washington came along, Nancy Wilson. And Sarah Vaughan always retained this, and Carmen McRae, and I'm going to leave out others, but she always had this special niche, just due to the tremendous versatility of her range. She had 3 octaves. The fact that harmonically speaking, she could get around the chord changes in her own unique way. And then there was just that thing that you call Sarah Vaughan that no one else had. Well, she had her own way with the songbooks, and by that I mean, the great legacy of Cole Porter, the legacy of Rodgers and Hart and Irving Berlin and all those folks. In fact, she did a wonderful Irving Berlin songbook album in the late 50s with Billy Eckstine. But here we'll hear her sing, If They Asked Me, I Could Write a Book, a Rodgers and Hart tune from the 1930s. And just for the sake of argument, you might want to listen to it and think about how it's different from Ella, it's different from Billy, it's different from Carmen. Or you might not want to think of anything at all and just sink into the beautiful music. More from Japan, September 1973.
If they ask me, I could write a book about the way you walk and talk and whisper and look. I could write a preface on how we met, so the world would never, never, never forget. Shoo-ba-doo-doo-doo, shoo-doo-ba-doo-doo-doo. With the simple secret of the plot is just to tell them that I love you a lot. So the world discovers as my book ends how to make 2 lovers or friends. If they ask me, I could write a book about the way you walk and talk and whisper and look. I could write a preface on how we met, so the world would never, never, never forget. With the simple secret of the plot is just to tell them I love you a lot.
Thank you very much.
Look at this photograph. It's hard, I wouldn't say it's hard to talk about it, but just to contemplate what we're actually seeing here. In a way, the father of all jazz singing as we know it to this day, Louis Armstrong, and on his right, Billie Holiday, on his left, Billie Holiday, who took it to another dimension, and then the young Sarah Vaughan, who took it to another dimension. So there they are. Just think of just for starters, the untold hours of pleasure, an untold number of lives that have been enlightened and enriched just by the fact that these folks opened up their mouths and sang. It's really something to contemplate, just those three people sitting next to each other one night in a club. Absolutely amazing. We're going to listen to Sarah Vaughan singing I Cried for You, a tune that Billie Holiday had made her own. And of course, in Billie Holiday's case, she had a very strong musical relationship with Lester Young. And they made all these great records together in the 1930s and early 1940s and are still associated together. And the young Billie Holiday, she was establishing her fingerprint in music, with those records. Well, the young Sarah Vaughan, coming up just a few years later, had to establish her own musical style. And we're going to hear her sing a tune associated with Billie, I Cried for You, accompanied by Lester Young. And it happened at Town Hall in 1947, and Prez really goes into his early playing behind Billie Holiday floating style. I don't know what to call it, but it's kind of a magical moment. And you can hear Sarah Vaughan egging Lester on to play. And then we'll hear the same tune, I Cried for You, done live in Japan in 1973. And again, it makes for a great comparison as to the young and the middle-aged Sarah Vaughan, her originality, doing a tune associated with Billie, and also getting to hear Lester Young. It's quite amazing.
I cried for you. I cried for you. I cried for you. Now it's your turn to cry over me. Every road has a turning. That's one thing you're
what a fool I used to be. Found two eyes a little bit bluer, found a heart a little bit truer. I cried for you, your turn to cry over me. Cried for you, almost died for you, your turn to cry over me. Every road has a turning, that's one thing you're learning. Oh, I cried for you, what a fool I used to be. Found two eyes a little bit bluer, found a heart a little bit truer. I cried for you, your turn to cry, go on and cry over me, baby, cry, go on and cry over me, baby, cry, go on and cry over me, over me.
The 1970s, again, this album was recorded in 1973, was a real decade of continued change in American popular music. You know, jazz is sometimes said to have been America's popular music. It never was, but it was always a major flavor, a component in American popular music in the 1920s, 30s, 40s, 50s, into the 60s, but by then a decade's worth or so of rock and roll and other kinds of music had taken the harmonic and rhythmic and melodic subtleties of jazz pretty much out of the mix. But there were echoes of it here and there. And in the 60s, music from Brazil, the samba and the bossa nova and the music of Jobim, which were actually very influenced by American jazz, kind of kept a little niche going, where songs with more sophisticated harmonies and things could actually be popular. And Sarah Vaughan blended one of these into this incredible 1973 concert in Japan. As a tune that was usually just played for dancing at social events. It was not a song taken apart, usually played slowly or really investigated for its many riches. Well, she did that in concert with her pianist Carl Schroeder, and this great rhythm section with John Janelli and Jimmy Cobb. And they took Wave and slowed it down, and every note and every chord is thought about, and it's just a magical performance. And we're going to listen to Wave, followed by one of the most important pieces from this album, and that is Round Midnight. And we'll hear these two back to back. As we've mentioned before, Sarah Vaughan was very much a part of the new music of the mid-40s. She recorded with Charlie Parker and Dizzy Gillespie in early 1945 on more than one occasion. She was singing with Billy Eckstine's band. You know, she sang tunes by Tad Dameron, and she was right in the middle of all the new things, and her singing style reflected it. She did things that neither Ella or Billy or the other major singers of the era were getting to. So it's worth remembering that she undoubtedly encountered Thelonious Monk. He was actually playing piano in Dizzy Gillespie's 1946 big band when she would occasionally sing with it, but they undoubtedly were around each other. And her version of Round Midnight from this concert in particular has to rank as one of the very best of the, I don't know, thousands of recorded versions that must be out there, many hundreds. Along with Miles Davis's versions and Monk's versions and a handful of others. This is, it really is beyond compare. So we'll listen to Wave by Jobim and then Round Midnight from Live in Japan.
So close for that's a lovely way to be. Well, things your heart alone to be. The fundamental loneliness goes whenever two can dream a dream together. Try to fight the rising sea. Don't fight the moon, the stars above, and don't fight me. The fundamental loneliness goes whenever two can dream a dream together. When I saw you first, the time was 3:30. When your lips met mine, it was eternity. For now we know the wave is on its way to be. Don't fight the wave, don't be afraid, don't be afraid of loving me. The fundamental loneliness goes whenever two can dream a dream together. So close your eyes, oh, that's a lovely way to be. Aware of things your heart alone wasn't meant to be. The fundamental loneliness goes whenever two can dream a dream together. You can't deny, don't try to fight the rising sea. Don't fight the moon, the stars above, and don't fight me. The fundamental loneliness goes whenever two can dream a dream together. When I saw you first, the time was 3:30. When your lips met mine, it was eternity. For now we never the wave is on its way to be. Don't fight the wave, don't fight the wave, don't fight the wave, don't fight the wave, and don't fight me. The whenever two can dream a dream together.
Thank you very much.
Supper time, I'm sad that it really gets bad. Memories always start around midnight, around midnight. It begins to tell round midnight, round midnight. I do pretty well till after sundown. Supper time, I'm feeling sad. Then it really gets bad around midnight. Memories always start around midnight, around midnight. I haven't got the heart to stand those memories. When my heart is still with you, and old midnight knows it too. When some quarrel we've had needs mending, does it mean that our love is ending? Lately I find you're out of my arms and I'm out of my mind. Let our love take wings. Let our love take wings some midnight. Round midnight. let the angels sing of your returning. Let our love be safe and sound when old midnight comes around. Just let our love take wings and let the angels sing your returning. Please, please let our love be safe and sound when old midnight comes around. Round midnight.
And with those two classic selections, Wave and Round Midnight, we conclude listening to, live in Japan, Sarah Vaughan in 1973, one of our National Jazz Museum in Harlem Jazz for Curious Listeners presentations. My name is Lauren Schoenberg. I'm Senior Scholar at the museum, and I want to thank you so much for spending time with us. We have a lot of programming going on online these days, not only historical things like this, but eminently contemporary topics, contemporary artists. We explore pretty much anything and everything of value that intersects with jazz. And you can find out more about those things at our website, which is www.jmih.org, and at our Facebook page, and of course at our YouTube channel, where a lot of these events are ultimately posted. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Evening breeze caress the trees tenderly, the trembling trees embrace the breeze tenderly. Then you and I came wandering by, lost in a sigh where we, the shore was kissed by sea and mist. I can't forget how two hearts met breathlessly.